My next video is going to be of this game, Zub. You might notice that they also say Schneider, and that is just basically the German name for Amstrad, because it was licensed to a different company in Germany. And the cassette's going a little bit yellow there. This is a scrolling platform game. It's one of those ones with a really weird story. It doesn't really take itself too seriously. And it also includes some clever bits. So here are the clever bits. Parallax like you've never seen it. 100 frames of animation. High-res attributes. 5 skill levels. More alien types than you'd believe. And constant execution speed. So they're actually bragging that it's well programmed. Right, let's load it up and play some Zub. Nice and colourful. You know, actually I think the main game is a lot less colourful than that. Yeah, check out this weird title screen. There are options and you can actually change the difficulty, but I'll keep it on the default difficulty, which turns out is quite challenging actually. See the picture in the top left hand corner? That's the character you control, called Zub. Although reading the instructions, all of the characters are called Zub, and all of the planets are called Zub. In this game everything's called Zub. Alright, here we are. This is a scrolling platformer, and you can't move too far to the left, you can't move too far to the right, because the aim of the game is to climb up to the top, and the only way you can climb up is by moving on these little platforms. And basically that's the whole game. There is still a certain quality to it though. If you add up the pretty good animation, the characters have got a bit of character to them. It's programmed pretty well. It moves alright and it's got good music. Even though it's very lightweight, I still think it's a pretty damn good game. There is one tiny little frustration, and that is that if you are quite high, you can easily get knocked off. Apparently the enemies try to knock you off, but I've been knocked off by the edge of the screen force field more than anything else, and you can't control your direction when you're falling. And that's the game really. I can't quite see it on the preview here. Hopefully it comes through in the main video, but you do have stars in the background which show off a nice kind of parallax effect, which helps to give you a sense of movement as well. You do have to duck down, otherwise you'll just walk off the edge of them. So there is just that one enemy. He keeps coming back. As far as I know, you can't kill him in any way. And this game was made by Binary Design. They made a few games for Mastertronic, and I managed to find a couple of websites. One of the websites I found it years ago, for the lead programmer and his brother. They have their own website. They're known as the Pickford Brothers. Well, I'm not just going to repeat what it says on their website there, but it does give some interesting information on the game. And they do admit themselves that the game's a little bit lightweight. I mean, it is a fairly simple concept. There are some games that get away with it, but this definitely has the look and feel of a proper console game rather than a computer game. Hey, there we go. It looks like there's 10 levels, and from level 1 I guess we could go to level 3 or 2. This is the most I've ever played this game, and unsurprisingly, if you've played level 1, then you've seen everything the game has to offer. I had a quick look on YouTube after recording the footage for this game at the different versions of the game. Not only was this on the Amstrad, it was on the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64. And it turns out that the little platforms seem to be a lot smaller in this version. It is really quite frustrating to get knocked off, because you do just have to start again right from the bottom, unless you're lucky enough to land on one of those platforms. In fact, this whole game does have a kind of a weird, unsettling feel to it. It's definitely not cutesy. I think the music goes quite a long way towards that. And I remember I didn't like it when I was a child, and I think it might have been that. It might have just had a bit of an unfriendly feel to it. Oh god, I just ran into a force field again. I'll just accidentally touch the edge and it'll knock me off. I don't know if it's supposed to knock you off, because it never knocked me off on the left side. Oh yeah, there's another difference. A little interesting thing that I found out. There's a hidden game in the 128K Spectrum version of this called Light Farce. I very much doubt it's in this one. But it's in the Spectrum version. That's a kind of parody of a game called Light Force. And that's a game that I have on the Amstrad, and I quite liked it at the time, so I don't know why they'd take the piss out of it. Another website that I found is one of the guys that used to work for Mastertronic has listed the 30 best-selling 8-bit games that they ever published. And this game isn't in the top 30. The Pickford Brothers website does say that the game sold about 60,000 copies on each of the 3 formats it was released for, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, when you compare that to console games. So it's not up there in the millions, but actually that is pretty decent numbers. 200,000 would be pretty decent numbers actually, even though it's a budget game, so the margins are quite tight. But one of the other games that they made, called Feud, that's right up there in the top 30. And the best-selling game that Mastertronic ever released sold about 500,000 copies, which was Formula 1 Simulator by the twins that formed Codemasters, the Darling brothers. So that is Zub on the Amstrad CPC. And compared to quite a lot of stuff that's a little bit lazy, it's a bit slow or missing music or just a bit of a plod, I think this is a really good game. It does actually stand out as a really well made game. It's just a shame that there wasn't more to it. So there you have it, there's the end of the video.